Something that I'm quite surprised that reptile people don't do more often is frame the sheds from their reptiles. It's very easy to do. Most of the time it looks very good. It's also very cheap to do. So today I'm going to show you how to do it with an example. You can do it with pretty much any species and any kind of shed. Snakes, big or small. You could do it with large pieces of shed from blue tongues, bearded dragons, even things like monitors. Or you could even do it with the scutes from turtle shells. Today I'm going to be showing you with my shinglebacks shed. Shinglebacks are quite unique in the fact that they tend to shed in one big piece, which makes it very good for displaying because it looks quite unique. So for today's DIY, you're going to need the shed from your animal or the pieces of shed. You're going to need a suitably sized frame. It can really be any frame, whatever suits the size of the shed best. You're also going to need some paper towel, or ideally you could use a reusable towel. It should have small sized fibers. Something like a microfiber towel would be great because these sheds are quite fragile. They need something quite small and delicate to clean them off properly. You're also going to need a pencil. It doesn't have to be sharpened. It can be as blunt as you want. You're also going to need paper to mount your shed on. The paper will be behind the shed in the frame. It can really be any paper, coloured paper. It can be paper with a pattern on it. It could be a picture of the animal's natural environment. It could be a picture of the animal itself. Anything, it doesn't really matter. You're also going to need a place to wash and clean your sheds. Any sink will do as long as it has hot water. Step 1 is to choose the type of shed you're going to be using. This kind of mounting works best with flat pieces. Things like snake shed works really well. This shingleback shed works pretty well, but the scale size is quite large. I would choose something with a smaller scale size. Things like bearded dragons with their spikes around the head and down their sides can make it a little bit hard to frame them. You can still do it, but it's a little bit harder. Overall, you're just looking for a nice looking piece of shed. It can be really old, it can be really fresh, either way works. Next, you're going to sort through these shed pieces that you're going to be mounting, and you're going to brush off any chunks of substrate, dust, dirt, poop, anything that's attached to the things that you can easily get off. When reptiles shed their skin, they create a thin, very thin layer of slimy type stuff in between the old shed and the new shed. If you're working with a very new shed, you will be able to feel this slimy stuff on it. If you're working with an old shed, this slime would have dried up. Either way is fine. Next, you're going to wash your shed in some warm water. You need to be very, very gentle, especially with smaller pieces of shed. Make sure your tap is on quite a low flow. If your shed is very old and it's lost this slimy layer, you may want to soak your shed for a couple of hours just to make it easier to work with. Do not use any soaps when you're cleaning your shed, just your fingers. If you've got maybe a very small old paintbrush, you could also use that, but you shouldn't need it. Next, you're going to bring your sheds back to your work area and you're going to prepare them for drying. Step 5 is probably the most difficult step. This is when you're going to be essentially preparing your shed for mount. You're going to be flipping it inside out. For example, this shingleback shed was flipped the wrong way, so now I'm going to go back and I'm going to flip it the right way around. This is when you're going to be using your pencil just to help you get into the smaller spaces. If you're cutting your shed, now is also when you should do that. Just one clean line down the center, or you might want to cut the belly scales out altogether. Totally up to you. Step 6, you're going to transfer your lovely newly prepared shed to a fresh piece of paper towel or microfiber towel. You're going to position it while it's still nice and warm and damp. You're going to position it in the position that you want to be framing it in. because once it has dried, it will be very hard to move and it'll be much easier to break it. So make sure when you're putting it on your paper towel or towel, it is in the position that you're going to mount it in. Once it's on the paper towel, you're just going to pat it dry, and then you're going to wait for 24 hours. This is just to allow the shed to dry out completely and prevent it molding up in the frame. After the 24 hours has passed, you're going to transfer your shed from the towel into the frame. If you need to make any additional cuts to make it fit into the frame, go right ahead. Position it, make sure you're happy with the way it's positioned before you close the frame. If you're completely happy with it, then you can close the frame, flip it around, make sure you're happy with it, and if you are, you're finished. And there you have it. There is your DIY shed mount. This is quite a basic way to do it. There are so many other ways you can do it. You can mount it in a shadow box. I've seen people get so creative with these. I've seen people make little life-size clay molds of their animal and then lay the shed over the top. Looks very cool. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe and like the video. Yeah, that's about it. If you don't already follow me on Instagram, that's probably the place to go if you want to learn anything more about what little we post here. Hopefully we'll get more of these shorter videos out soon, because the longer videos take months to make and it's really annoying. So I figured I'd make some of these smaller videos in between. They're 10 times easier for me to make. Yeah. Thank you for watching.